Club NGMI.
We are so glad you made it to Club NGMI on this fine October Monday evening. We are here with Lou, Babs, Trey, recapping some NFT stuff. Might dip into some DeFi, even. Lou, how was your week, buddy?
It was a good week. A lot of people in our Discord are more into the DeFi stuff than I got. I missed out on the original. I think Zombie Toads was the first one that I missed on that other people were really hyped about. Because that might have been, was that Friday night? Maybe Saturday? I don't know. Either way, there was a big uptick in activity last week in general for NFTs. And we saw over the weekend a lot of these projects were going over, say, 3 ETH, I guess was a lot of these. And then obviously with the cryptodes, that those flew way past 10 at this point. So, last week at this time during the stream, the cryptode floor, I think, was 2.5, and it's gone up 10 ETH since then. So that kind of hurt.
Yeah, I think all of us had toads at one point. I know Trey still has
on
toads.
The stream last week. I still
toad. I have one toad left.
I did not. There's one of the few I missed. Yeah.
Really?
I still can't. Well, I was putting my kid to bed, and I didn't check my phone for 15 minutes, probably the one time a day I didn't check my phone. And then I come back and you guys were all celebrating. So that one stings still.
Well, it was the mint, and then the whole hour after mint was really fun because it was pumping a lot, and there was a lot of people on Twitter. It was one of those night mints too. It was more late at night, but there were a lot of people on Twitter. Like Jennings changed his profile picture to that and had a post on toads, and there was all these big names that were buying into toads. So then it just ran up to 0.7 or something on the first night. So it was pretty fun.
Of course, Jennings changed it and pumped it right after I sold my rare snipe for a wonderful 3 ETH in 45 minutes.
Yeah, you sold a rare same night, which is pretty good.
I was stoked. It was great. I loved it. Go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, that was the toads were interesting. I remember that night because it got posted in our Discord first, and I was just kind of at that point, I was kind of in my whole, let's be a little bit more selective here. You're just bleeding ETH almost every single day. And then I actually popped into Collective right as the mint was kind of ending, and they were going nuts. They were just going crazy. They thought it was the next coming of punks essentially. So I was like, wow, I might be missing this one. So I quick just max gassed it and ended up getting in. I think my mints are in the last probably 500. So I kind of got lucky there. I'm still sitting on one, but yeah, man, I thought I made out like a bandit last week with my sale, and now the floor is higher than where I sold it at. So yeah, I mean, you can't beat yourself up over that kind of stuff, though. At least I try not to. It's just one of those things. You kind of have to accept it, take your win.
Yeah, and I think it's something to just notice in general that when the punks community is in on something, because that's what happened with CyberCongs too. CyberCongs was similar, where that whole punk Discord was all about CyberCongs, and then I mean, obviously we've seen what happened with that, but yeah, that's something I think to note with all of this is whenever they're excited about something, keep your eye on it.
It's a different.
Is it literally?
Type. I was going to say it's a different type of collector too, right? Those guys, they don't care about selling for 2 or 3 ETH. They're cool to hold it till 25, right? They don't care as much about the quick flip for 0.5 ETH. So you get a different diamond hand crowd, which is always appealing for those kind of projects.
Well, I think somebody made a good point. It's you got guys like Andy that are going in there and just genuinely just love these things and just are buying them up, and they could not care less about the actual price of it because they're sitting on massive bags of ETH anyway. They've got 6 or 7 punks. So that is the power of the punk community for sure. And it definitely showed through on toads. Toads are just going insane. So yeah, when the punks get on something, I think it's probably one of those situations where you just don't ask questions and you tail it, because a lot of sharp people own punks. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point.
Is this just the vibe that's in the Larva Labs punk Discord, or is there a private punks Discord that us folks do not have access to, Trey? Because I know I used to hang out in there a little bit and work in the punks Discord. But...
No, I think it's the same one. I noticed, I don't know when this went in, but I noticed I've never actually posted in there, mostly just a lurker, just because it's intimidating, right? But I did notice that my permissions to actually type in there are now gone. So I don't know when that went in or what. I'm guessing it had to do with there just being so many scammers, and the spam got to be so crazy that they had to cut it off, kind of like almost like what we did. But I can still go in there and see stuff. But yeah, I'm not in any like secret alpha group or anything like that. I just I hang out in the punks Discord every once in a while. It's toward the top of like my Discord filtered list that kind of makes the cut.
Yeah, Dan H used to come into our chat and would say, "Hey, this is what the Larva Labs Discord is talking about." That's when we first heard about it. Because he's like, they're loving this. I just bought 2, so that's why I bought one originally. But obviously, we sold those way too early. The same day, but like,
I don't even know, when was that released? Was that like April? Because I don't know that I was actually fully in the NFT game yet. Like, I think I was still maybe
in March. Yeah, I was gonna say March or something. It was early.
That's when I was heavy into like DeFi, and I was more researching ETH and Bitcoin and all that stuff. I wasn't as much into NFTs just because I had some PTSD from Top Shot.
Well, that was still when there was like OpenSea drops where you would just see like all this, kind of like what these more derivative projects now, where like the Pixel Cool Cats or whatever they were, where they're just sitting all there. No one knows any of the rarities or anything. And you kind of just pick which one you want for 0.01. And that's kind of where it like came from originally. There's a message in Pete's chat. I don't know. Are you able to pull that up?
I cannot.
Okay. So it's from Terrell Davis. And he says, could you guys give me a 30-second on what you think goes into making a successful NFT? No lie, I need a response from the community for a paper.
For a paper?
For a paper?
We're
being put on the spot here.
Are we saying
he put money? He sent money for this. So
are we saying
give him some good
what
advice.
Makes it successful in terms of like you know a strong price? Like what's considered successful? I guess like that's the first question I have, right? Like a high floor, like
randomization.
Is that
clean randomization.
Yeah, that's number one.
Provable rarity.
But like, I guess my question is, what do you define as successful? Like, are we talking purely return on profit? Like that's, like to me, that's how I define successful, but like everyone interprets it different, right? Like what do you guys think is a successful NFT project?
Yeah, I think it has to do with the team involved. Like we talk about it a lot where Anon teams, we don't really like when they're anonymous. We like to know who it is. We like to know who's involved. Oh, you can pull it up now. I think Pete just threw it into our chat. I don't see it. But basically I think the team involved is huge, but also it's the type of thing where now more than ever it seems like utility is what holds things long term versus others. And I mean, we talk about it a lot, but now with like the staking stuff that we're going to talk about later, it's why do you want to hold it? Like you have to give them reasons to want to hold the actual NFT, because if people aren't willing to hold it, then they're just going to be dumping it. And that's how the floor drops off. So like the staking has helped with that because people just aren't selling it. Instead, they're keeping it somewhere else. And then what we've seen with the stack toads is they have like 50 that are even listed, and so it helps the floor, but it also kind of helps with like long-term look, I guess.
For me, it's also like the art does actually matter. It's the effort or the uniqueness around it. Like you'll look at a lot of stuff now. It's GAN, generalized adversarial network, I think, something like that. Generative adversarial network, neural network, I think, is what it is, and that's a new hyped kind of method for getting weird computer generated art. So that could be one angle of looking at that. The monster cats, those looked cute today. That cute's been meta for a little bit as far as people like cute things. People like the penguins. That's good. They're cute. So it's pleasant to look at. And I know Bab's the big thing with the galactic apes has been they're cool PFPs. They just look sweet. So use those. So that's a good baseline as well. Ori's just killing me over here. Apparently I'm a bleeding artist here. I just got to cut my ear off because I love the art. So I love it. Yeah, I think art is important. TD for a project. Trey, what do you have that's important for a project?
I mean, when I think about it, I think the three main things, there's three things that go into it: the art, the team, and then, as much as we like to joke about it, it's the roadmap. And that's, you could almost tie it, roadmap and utility kind of go hand in hand, I guess. But I mean, those three are the main three things that come to mind for me. Because hopefully Carlini's not watching, but there have been complaints about the Perlini, the art doesn't look as good as, some of the other, maybe it's competitors or the other art that's out there in the NFT space in terms of PFP projects, but you're seeing it still be successful because it's got that utility behind it, because it's got that community behind it, because it's got the good team, because it's got the roadmap that people enjoy, the kitty bank, all that goes into it. So art is just one of the pieces to that puzzle, where I think the team and the roadmap can make up for it. So really it's like, but everything is so narrative driven in this space that it's hard to pick out and say, hey, this is the reason that one project was successful over the others. Sometimes it's easier to identify with certain projects than it is for others, but a lot of times there is no rhyme or reason. It just happens to be that the right person picked it up. And then people create their own narrative around it, and it's off to the races from there. So that's I think that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hate myself for arguing this one, and I totally would have not said this a month ago, probably.
I'm so excited for this.
But like I'm honestly now I'm starting to think like the thing that matters the most for these projects is community. It's I'm not just saying communities in terms of community, but it's like hype. The hype of the community, how excited people are, people talking about it, who's talking about it, who's into it, like who's buying it, who's talking about it, who's using it as their PFP. All it does is create like a cascade effect, right? Like I think that's what matters the most about like whether or not projects are successful right now. Like people get excited about making money together. They get hype. Like I even like think of our own Discord in terms of Galactic Apes. Like think how crazy it got for those 2 days when we all started changing our PFPs to apes and started getting excited about the floor going up. Like it just creates like a huge momentum shift. And like, I actually think that's what drives projects nowadays. And I don't think I would have said that a month and a half ago. Like it's FOMO. It's FOMO.
I think Lazy Lions are like we've talked about it before, but I mean, Lazy Lions are the perfect example of this. They just sat around for weeks, months. I was just like, hey, the art looks cool, but they had nothing, absolutely nothing in their roadmap, nothing with the team that I know of, and nothing with the art that really separated themselves. But one community just happened to like rally around each other and be like, yo, we're going to just blast this everywhere on Twitter. And it has worked.
It's kind of the same with like crypto toads too, right? Like the floor was kind of like settled at like 2 for a while. Like it wasn't doing much. And then all of a sudden, like Andy tweeted about it, like crypto Twitter kind of took over, like all those whales kind of started driving that floor up. And then FOMO kicked in. You even saw some of our Discord going there buying it at 6 ETH. Like that's strictly FOMO to me, is like, I don't want to miss the next apes. I'm getting in now. Right. And it just drives it cascades and it piles on. Right.
The counter to that are the Wassies. Have you looked at the Wassies floor?
Yeah.
But I have been monitoring.
My problem with those is crypto Twitter hasn't taken it over yet. Like you see no one talking about it. Right. Like, so like, it's kind of like the antithesis of the toads. Like people started talking about toads, started being some big sales. Like people started throwing around 50 ETH at some of those. Wazies hasn't really had that. Like I do think if people started doing that with Wazies, it would just run too. Right.
It's weird to me that Wazies hasn't done anything yet for how much backing they had on social media. Like you'd think that would be the one that catches on almost like Toads did. I guess, I don't know if it's just the fact that people kind of latched onto that public domain narrative from Toads. Maybe that's what separated it. But yeah, it definitely seemed like there's all this buildup and hype for WASI's leading up to it. And then immediately after, it was just gone. And now you don't hear anybody talking about it, even though the floor is just kind of chilling, I guess, at like 0.75 or 0.8.
I think that's kind of like Top Shot, where this is an argument I see people have a lot, where it's like crypto Twitter versus, in a way, like NFT Twitter. So like Top Shot's issue is it was like NBA fans versus like crypto people. And I think the NFT space is similar in a sense that like maybe crypto people aren't really NFT people. So they're not as familiar with like what the utilities involved are going to be. And like, I don't know much about the whole, like, let's say the roadmap of WASI's, but I know like the original idea was, oh, they have a huge social media presence and that's what's going to push it. But at the end of the day, there's going to be people that don't know anything about Loom Dart. And why are they going to spend an ETH on this project? They're looking from a different angle, I think.
Yep.
What's that, Dangy? You making another video?
He's doing the pump and Loom Dart.
Oh, the pump and Loom Dart.
Oh, the cat.
That was
go so hard.
Gift for a while, and then I haven't seen it in a while. I wonder where it is. Might have lost it. I don't know.
We should add that
Pretty
to
good.
our list of videos we could throw on.
Yeah, we certainly could. Yeah, so I don't know why WASI. So that the other missing piece is I don't know, and this will relate into the DeFi stuff we'll get into next, which is people ask why. I have no idea. I had a beer with a buddy this past weekend, and he's like, "But why do people buy this?" I don't know, not too sure. And then we get into the DeFi stuff, and we go, "Why do people want that token?" I don't know. It doesn't matter. What matters is that people think other people want it. It's like you got to go third degree thinking on it, and you all know, you saw me in the Discord for a while. It was a big nit, and just like apes, like who wants an ape as an avatar? That's stupid. And I'm like, no, not gonna buy it because it's silly. But you got to shut that why off in your brain a little bit, TD. So that's my recommendation. In your paper, right? You just have to be dumb, and then you'll win money in NFTs.
It's like that. It's like that chart that you always see where it's like low IQ and high IQ, and then there's the middle IQ that's just actually stupid, where it's the high IQ and the low IQ people that are actually the ones just straight up killing it. Kind of funny how that works.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into the staking stuff. So Trey, I think it's kind of interesting that, and I was thinking about this before we got on the show, like the world, the crypto world is kind of folded in on itself a little bit, because yeah, I started getting into DeFi too when the Matic rewards were good and like, oh, this is interesting and cool. Yep. And then we went to NFTs, and then now we have NFTs that have similar staking yields. So what kind of parallels are you seeing between DeFi, NFTs, and then what we're seeing now with these different staking projects?
Yeah, I mean, I got into DeFi, just kind of briefly back in March and April when there was that little bit of like buffer period between Top Shot and when NFTs really started going nuts. So I took that time to kind of dive into it. So I'm not like super well versed in yield farming, especially like degen yield farming, but I do have, I feel like at least enough knowledge where I can see that these are very, very similar. And it's just like, if you can get in early on some of these yield farms, and that's really what these toads remind me of, is it's just like you farm, for this yield and you earn this native token, which is stack. And then if you continue holding, and the people that, what I compare it to is that Iron Finance. Did any of you guys get in on that or partake in that? Because it was nuts. I mean, the price of that token got up to like $65 at one point. And I mean, people were farming it when it was like a couple cents.
Yeah.
So then when you're earning like 10% a day farming that token when it's only 10 cents, like you are just, you're accumulating so much of that token. And if you can hold it until people do really start FOMOing in with that capital, it is just a Ponzi farm. And then everything comes crashing down eventually. So you just want to get out before everybody else did. And Mark Cuban, I think in that circumstance, is the one that did not get out.
And that's what's funny, because then didn't he call for some sort of regulation after?
Yeah, that was like it was his first. I think it was his first run at degen yield farming, and he thought that the project was like super legit. Iron Finance was talking about this stable coin that was going to be backed by its other coin Titan, and yeah, he just got. I think he was making so much money for a little bit there, but then he just got wrecked. So yeah, kind of funny how he turned to regulation after that.
So let's take a step back. Does anyone else want to take a stab at explaining this from start to finish, or would you like me to take a stab at it?
Please don't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, please don't make me.
Lou, you want to take a stab?
I thought you wanted to explain it to people.
I'm willing to.
Before you explain it, like I'm terrible at this. Like I miss mice, I miss cats, I miss zombie toads. So the stack toads was kind of my first foray into this staking deal, and I would love for you to explain it to me, because I'm still kind of like it's way over my head. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure. We'll start with cats, which is actually, they're both a little different, but they're might be a little more straightforward for cats. So there were 2,000 cats that were minted. You could buy them. And then the whole idea behind cats, where you would get mice, MIECE, which was just extremely lazy, because they just stole the mice contract and added an E, pretty much literally. And then you would get those mice, and then you could breed more of these cats. So I lost a lot of sleep breeding cats. And so I accumulated I minted 20, and now I have 51 cats. But it was a race, because you had to accumulate, and there was a FOMO ramp. So it started with one Mies token, then there were 2, then there were 3 Mies, and then it cost up to 4 Mies to buy those things. And then there's another mechanic too that caused some deflation, which is you could burn the Mies to get more rare ones. So I remember this Saturday morning, we had a kitty bonfire, basically, where a lot of us were just burning for rares. And it was helping all of our bags, because fewer cats, more valuable, because they still staked for Mies as well. So it's a little different than what the toads look like, but it's similar tokenomics in that we get this token. It's currently used for getting more cats, but then now what do you do afterwards? And so that's what we're all searching for, is that after effect of what's going to happen. And they have come out with some part of the tokenomics where it'll be related to zombie cats. And so when you were burning cats, you weren't actually, you were just marking them as burned. They were not actually burned as NFTs. So they might come back. And early on, some people were burning just any cat. And so there's going to be some rare zombies in there that'll likely be pretty valuable. What questions do people have about how that tokenomics work? I know people in the chat are worried about me fudding the cats. I am extremely invested in the cats. I will be honest about how the cats work, but I'm not going to pump them, but I'm not going to FUD them. So what questions or missing pieces in my explanation are there?
Yeah, my thought is like, why not do this, and why do a liquidity pool? So in a liquidity pool, like let's say for the purse, right? You put your per in there, you're not putting the rare one in there, and you get back $1 per. And then if that goes up in price, you're, gaining value on it as well. But it's not giving you the interest in the same way. So I guess, do you understand the idea of like how they pay out in the staking returns? Because I think you made a comment in one of our chats earlier on people who are providing the liquidity, like what's motivating them to provide the liquidity, right?
Yeah, these are two different things, I think, because you're right. There is now a liquidity pool for cats, but why you'd provide it is so that people can buy and sell it. And so the idea being that the mice token would go up. So yeah, I posted a link to the project in the chat, by the way. It's CMYKATZ. So color nerds might be interested in that, because the rarities are related to the colors CYMCMYK. So just a note there. But yeah, I think the cats could have an end, but it depends on if people really care about the zombie cats. We'll see. We'll see if that closes the loop a little bit. Any other questions on cats, or do we want to go over to toads? The stacked toads.
Yeah, I didn't have any of the cats. I didn't. realize that there was that like burn mechanic to it either.
Yeah.
I've
that was pretty
the
cool.
Ones that are toads.
Well, and if you remember back to when the toads were happening, I was losing my mind because I saw what was coming, because the stacking on the toad side was the burning. Because for toads, you could buy the toads and then you could combine 3 toads into one NFT. There's your burn. Well, 3 into 1. So we're deflationary again. Let's go. This is great. So that's why I was very excited, and people were very confused. And that's where I got a little concerned about folks who don't know what they're doing, because like Babs mentioned, it's complicated in what you're doing, and you could fairly easily mess things up if you wanted to, or if you didn't know what you were doing precisely with the project, because it is the mixture of DeFi and NFTs. So with toads, it's essentially you have the toads, you could stack them, you can never unstack them. So you have burned those 3 NFTs into one stacked toad. Has anybody looked to see if the ones you burn are then in the stack?
No, they're different.
I think
it's like
they randomize it.
It rerolls like the rarities. Like it's a completely different stack. Like it's not the same toads. You can get 3 different toads.
Be way cooler if it was actually your toads.
Yeah.
No,
like I remember
you'd have to look back, because I stacked a lot just very quickly.
I didn't even look at my rarities. I just stacked them like instantly. I didn't really care.
I scrolled through mine quick, but it didn't seem like I really had anything crazy.
Yeah.
So once you stack them, the trick here is you could stake your stacked toads for 50 of the token versus the single toads would be 5. So what that means is you're incentivized to burn or stack your toads and then throw them in the pool and just get your passive income that way. So Gump in the chat did mention liquidity pools reward providers with a percentage of each transaction. So yeah, that's part of the fee that you're paying when you do Sushi Swap, Uniswap, or even in MetaMask. You're paying a fee. Part of that goes to the folks providing liquidity. That's how that's how the ecosystem works in a lot of ways. It's how you're able to trade your ETH for anything else that you want. So all over the place in decentralized exchanges. So thank your local liquidity providers by just giving them money. You have to anyway. So there you go.
What I understand, it's basically the only way that any of this works is if there's liquidity providers.
The other way that people go is over to a centralized exchange. I've seen people take the round trip over to Coinbase in particular to go cross-chain sometimes, which is fine. In my head, that's like I don't know why. I don't know why I'm on a high horse on this one of all things, but I like to stay in the ecosystem versus going to a centralized exchange when I can, just because I'm an idiot, I guess. I don't know. But if you're going to Coinbase, who cares? Go to Coinbase and then come out.
I mean, you're paying your fees to actual liquidity providers instead of paying it to a centralized exchange. So if you're a man of the people, then you swap on Uni and Sushi, not on Coinbase.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Were you doing the iron finance on Sushi, did you say?
Yeah, I think that's where I was doing. No, it was on. It was a Polygon specific. I think it was QuickSwap. Is where where I was doing where I was getting the LP tokens from, and then I would go there and swap. When I would get iron, I would swap it. Yeah, that was a fun experience. That was a good learning experience, which is why I think this is cool. Because it is introducing people to DeFi a little bit that maybe otherwise wouldn't have been exposed to it. I think I'm in the minority where I came from, learning about DeFi into NFTs, whereas most people probably got into NFTs first, and then maybe this is just like their initial kind of introduction to that. And I think it's a perfect way to do that, and it's way more fun than just holding a token. You hold some cool toad stacks,
and there's
you
also
can stack into the Discord.
We've been looking, at least in recent weeks, for like a new edge, and this is starting to become a new game in a way where it's like, if you understand the idea of like how you're earning and just prices, right? Because unstacked were about, like, technically they should be about a third of the price from a stacked one. But the part that's different here is you're getting the 50 a day for stacked, but only 5 for unstacked. So that's 15 versus 50. So should they really be 9 times the price or something like that, like 10x the price? So right now, like I went in and I bought stacked, not unstacked, because unstacked were too close in price. And so there's a lot more game theory involved. Also, like the stacked has 2,100 of them versus 10,000 of the unstacked. And the unstacked ones don't show up as burned or anything, right? Like on OpenSea, it still says added 10,000. Is there a place that you can see how many are gone?
Well,
I don't know.
It'd be the math of like how many stacks there are, right? Like,
yeah, I know you could stack 2 technically, right? So it wouldn't give us the exact number, but it'd probably give us a pretty good estimate.
I think you have to stack 3, don't you?
I think it's 3, yeah.
Oh, I thought you could potentially stack like 2.
No, you need 3
Maybe
for
I
a
was wrong
stack.
on that. Okay, never mind. I understood that differently.
Yeah, so you could do the math, like whatever.
Yeah.
However many stacked there are, you know.
2789.
So pretty much all the individual ones.
Dangy, do you only have 6 stacks? Were you selling off today?
I sold 1 stack so far.
Okay.
I haven't sold any of my stacks. And
I kept some unstacked as well, and some sold. I still have 2, I believe. And then I am a liquidity provider, so please clap. I am helping you all within the stack ETH pool. So we'll see. I'm just earning stack doing this. The bet here is that stack is going to be worth something and stack will go up. That's the idea. If stack goes down, then I'm SOL.
So what's your doing this? I was going to say, what's your strategy with the LP? I mean, are you taking the stack that you get or that you earn from staking your stacks and putting it into the stack ETH liquidity pool and then earning more stack from that and then just putting it all in, or are you taking profits along the way? That's kind of the question that I think, or that's like the game that all these DeFi people play is, do you just keep reinvesting that? Because if you do, you have the potential for a lot higher earning potential in the future, but also these things, I mean, they just get the rug pulled out of under, maybe that's not a great term, but like it happens quick. I mean, I remember Iron Finance, Iron was like, I mean, Titan was like $65 a token when I got home from work one day. And I remember going and changing and coming back and it was like half of that. And then like 20 minutes later, it was literally like a fraction of a cent. So it happens quick. There's not really a whole lot of time to make decisions in terms of getting out.
Guys, I have incredible news. Pussy Riot bought a frog. This is incredible.
I knew you would like that. I knew you would love that.
I'm excited. As a Pussy Riot maxi, as a frog maxi, let's go. We love to see it. And here's my concern, and we can pivot to that briefly. My concern with Pussy Riot was I don't like how NFT native are they? I don't know. I don't know what they bought. I don't see them on whale areas or anything like that. This tells me they're at least a little bit into it, which is pretty exciting for me and one Mr. Ray Chung, who are both Pussy Riot NFT holders. So yeah, thank you for that. Oh, Chung, I did not mean to put hell yeah dad on there.
Are frogs the next winter bears?
That's what some like people were saying. It feels different, right?
Wasn't that yesterday?
Winter bears?
Yeah.
I think it was like 3 days ago.
Winter bears did
feels like
pump
forever
yesterday.
ago.
2 days ago.
They did pump over the weekend. They hit like one at one.
I sold all mine too quickly as always, but
I didn't even get winter bears.
They feel like pudgy penguins to me. Like it's just random, like they're cute, and influencers took it over, right? Like
I want to give an update to some haters from our Discord. TD will like this. The current floor of the mutant cats is 0.19. So people like the cats. Apparently.
You love to see it.
Yes.
I got to see if I got to delift. So this math,
I was like, what?
This math has to be wrong. So you said there's 2789 stacked toads?
Yeah, that's what it shows up on.
Oh boy.
That means there's less.
There's only like 1,700.
Then you got keep in mind you're not burning 3, you're burning 2 every time you make a stack, right?
That's what I was wondering before.
Nice math, guys.
That's what I was asking.
That does make sense.
Come on. The accountant had
to so then double. That's still good.
Are you sure that you're burning only 2 of them?
Well, you're only losing 2 of the supply because you're making a stack, right?
Yes, but you're losing 3 unstacked.
Yeah, but you're in total supply, you're only losing 2 of all toads, right? You're converting 3 toads into 1 stack.
So hypothetically, there'll be 0 unstacked and 6,700 stacked toads at the end of the day. Is that right?
Yeah, but I think there's a max on how many you can stack, isn't there?
Right. So that's what I was wondering.
Didn't they say it was like 2,500?
I thought it was 20.
Yeah, they're already more than that.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand. I was like in such a frenzy, partly because of Dangy, to like get all mine stacked.
There you go. Almost 3,000 is what the limit is on stacks.
Shit.
But that's now a new game theory. There's less unstacked than stacked. So what if, and this is thinking from like Zed days, what if now the move is to pick up unstacked? What if they,
that's what I'm saying.
Like with the Punks comic, right? What if they give some utility to unstacked, and like for a month, unstacked is 20 per.
We should bring the developer on and ask. Let us know.
Are we thinking that? I was going to ask. Are we really thinking that? Like, I feel like that's a month ahead, and I'm just not thinking that far ahead for this project. Maybe
that's
the thought.
So the that might be a month ahead, but the teases have to be like next week, and that's part of the thing that I think these devs don't, or the communication team at least don't handle. They need there needs to be a constant drip. Going back to our fantasy football roots, we need a constant drumbeat of beat reports about these teams to keep going. That's where I'll give Beanie credit. Beanie is great at just boop, here's a little drip of thing, so you know that I exist, so you're still interested in my stuff.
You know who else is really good at that is the Galactic Ape guy. Like, he sends out a tweet every day almost that like gives a little bit of insight to the future game and utility. Like, I kind of like that. Like, he's always updating something. Just give a slow drip, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's all you got to do is give a little bit of info every day, right?
So we had Anonymice. Let's zoom out a little bit. We had Anonymice a month ago or so, maybe a little bit more. And then we had a lull. And then we had 4 DeFi projects in 4 days now. They're just like, oh, staking. Yeah, it's very simple. We'll do staking. And then we have this latest one, which is the Monster Cats, which you can stake and get a piece of some cool cats.
You keep calling them Monster Cats.
I'm sorry.
What are they actually called?
Mutant
cats.
Thank you, Trey. But I need to get in my head because they do remind me of Mutant 8 Yacht Club a lot as far as their aesthetic. So yeah, mutant cats. You can get a piece of that cool cat, which, going back to the PERS, that's basically what the Kitty Bank is, where you have a piece of these other NFTs that are encapsulated in yours. But the mutants are done with a token versus through a redeem mechanism. They don't call it burning because burning cats is a little crude for those fine folks over there. But redeeming cats. So I think we are in this new world, and the scary part is, I think mice are now king. I won't even say it. There are the originals that have started this bull run of staking.
So they're the apes, and then we have some of DeFi. That's what you.
I was going to go one generation before that.
Well, wouldn't you argue like Genesis Cyberkongs are like the first one to really do like
that's
like,
they're the punks.
It is. So when did the Cyberkongs introduce bananas after their launch?
I think that was like end of April.
So it wasn't. It took a. Did it just take these projects that long to put together a project that's similar to that, or why was there like this 5-month, I guess, buffer period where like there was no? Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you'd think that in this space where it's literally like if a project even has a scent of success, it's like we're copying that. I think Carlini's even mentioned that. Like, he just copies everything other projects do. So I'm surprised it took this long, especially with DeFi and NFTs just being so almost like a perfect fit. It just seems odd that all of a sudden, like Danny said, we have 4 this week, and we didn't have almost any the last like 5 months.
I think part of it was like the PFP projects were just popping off so hard, so that no one really had to think of other things to do.
Like, right? All they have to do is sell out. I guess.
You have to put any other effort in to like think of other ways to bring value back. So now I think like people are trying harder and saw like the success of mice. Like cats, didn't they just literally copy the contract? Like some of the coding still has mice in the name, right? Like,
yeah.
The beauty of crypto, man.
So like I think people are just now catching on. Like mice was successful, cats was successful. Hey, let's all do this in the short term, right? Like my worry is how long is this going to get oversaturated too quickly? Kind of like the same thing with loot, right? Like, is it going to be another loot problem?
There's so many farms. Like if you go into like a degen farming Discord, it is nuts. Like they are like us with NFTs. It's just like, what's the next farm? Is this a rug? No, all right, stick our money in it and get out as quick as possible. So in terms of like DeFi and NFTs, I don't know that there's really a whole lot of saturation at this point. If it was to catch on, which I don't think it necessarily has yet. I think we still got a ways to go in terms of adoption.
I think it will. I think it will catch on.
I do too.
For those of us in the regular world, the real world, user acquisition is very hard. Providing an airdrop of money is a very easy way to get people on your platform or on your NFT, and inertia sticks. So X percentage of people will buy these mutant cats and will just not sell them because they're lazy, they forget, they put them in hidden, and those are just locked up. So supply's down. So then if people are actually into it, there's fewer people to buy it. Therefore, it's worth more money. So I think this is to stay, and I think it's a relatively cheap way to get users, which I'm calling NFT holders users in this scenario. And that's really hard for a lot of these companies and these NFT projects. Why am I going to mint your stuff? Because there's certain things like the metavators seem cool. You're still in the Animeta's idea, but okay, they look cool. I doubt that there's no chance those are minted out yet. So how do you get users? Oh, staking pool. Great.
Yeah. And like
it's
Cool Cats kind of tried to introduce that. Like I haven't followed it much because I don't have a Cool Cat, but like they did like a token for milk, I think. And I'm not sure, like it probably worked in the same way somewhat. I just don't know much about it.
Yeah. I don't think that's out yet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting of adding it later on, which is a little different as far as
this recent pump out, didn't it?
Yeah.
It very much could be. Very much could be. So tangentially related to this in DeFi world, has anybody hung out in Avalanche at all? Bridged anything over?
I need to get over there. I haven't.
Why
yet.
do you need to, Trey?
I just heard it's the place to be. There's so much yield over there, right?
There is. So the folks in the chat wanted to talk about Avalanche briefly. I've been over in Avalanche and some other degens in the DeFi world. It's Avalanche Rush is what it's called. Yeah, Gump says, don't bother, Trey. And here's why. This talks about the dangers of DeFi. I had some ETH over there to play with. I said, great, I'm going to do what I did on Polygon Matic, and I'm going to lever up my ETH, and I'm going to make money, because what they're doing is they're incentivizing you to borrow money and incentivizing you to deposit, which makes sense. I'm giving you my money. I'll pay you money. It's like a regular bank. The crazy part is borrowing, they're also incentivizing you. So you make money.
That's where it gets insane.
It's nuts. So you just lever it. Well, I call it levering up, and you just do a round trip over and over and over again. And I started with X ETH, and I had 3X that by the time I was done. I'm like, I'm bored. I'm going to stop doing this. So I leave and I live my life. And then I come back and I look, and they're like, hey, Dangy, they're not paying you enough. You are losing money right now. And so I delever again. So I do the exact opposite. So those rewards, based on how many people are into it, can disappear or be not worth it for you to be in that environment anymore. So it's a word of warning. It's likely lucrative if you can babysit a little bit, but even more than your bags or checking the floor of your project once a day. These are hands-on experiences, if you will.
And do you know how long?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how long I know that Aave and Matic there's like a cutoff for when those rewards for borrowing were going to end. Is that it's got to be similar for Avalanche. So have they said when that comes to an end, or when they're going to stop paying you to borrow money? Because it doesn't make sense. I was trying to explain to my dad when I was doing like some of that, where I was borrowing ETH on Aave and then just redepositing it and borrowing more and redeposit. He's like, well, where is the interest coming from? And I was like, well, they're incentivizing people to come and use the platform. So now they're, paying people to just deposit their money and borrow and basically do anything.
Wait,
is that why Vox is pumping?
Yep. Yeah, it's basically.
I noticed that
they announced that staking's coming, and it starts tomorrow, and it's basically integrated into their game, right? Like that's why it's been pumping. But like I'm surprised it didn't pump more, right? Like especially like Vox already has like an integrated game system, like. It's popular. Like they have over 50,000 people in that Discord. Like why?
Who?
Why is Vox not pumping like mice and stacked toads? Like it's weird.
Because it's not like this happens a lot with like these older projects get sort of forgotten about, and it's like, what's the new one that is like cheap and you minted them recently, and you know.
So you think once it's live, you think it's going to start popping more, or do you think it's just dead?
I don't think it's necessarily just dead. I mean,
it has been moving. I think the floor was 0.25 or something the other day.
It is. Well, it's 0.24 right now, I think.
I thought it was just the game was coming. I didn't realize it was going to be a stake.
Vox is play to earn. And supposedly all you do is you plug them on the map, and you don't have to do anything. Like it's play to earn, but passive. So like that's ideal if it actually works out, right?
There's a guy sweeping the rare floor right now. It looks like a bunch of 1.5, 1.7.
That's the other thing they said that was super interesting is they said the rarity rankings impacts your earning, right? So the more rare it is, the more you earn, which is interesting too, right?
Yeah. Interesting. I do think you should get versed in DeFi. I do think Avalanche and Aave are a decent place to learn. If you put enough that you're comfortable with losing, that's fine. My personal recommendation is do it over there versus doing it with the stacked and unstacked toads, because that's a little bit weirder, and it'll be much quicker to fall than what you're expecting, I think. At least. So, okay. I think we should talk Eden. We promised the people Eden last time. I didn't talk Eden, and some other people asked about Eden. So who can do a little Eden work while I get something set up? Nothing crazy. It's a screen share. Let's just start there. Who can start chatting about Eden? Anybody?
I'm useless.
Don't
look.
I am too.
Yeah. All I know is that I hate Eden because everyone beats me on the cheap gas, and then they dump the floor, and I'm mad. So like,
it is one thing that I just have not looked into.
Either.
I don't know. It was one of those things where I was like, is it really going to be worth it to go through all that? And then I don't know. Recently, I've been like, because I remember when Ghost and a few of the other guys in the Discord got it right away. I was like, that's cool, but it just seems more like a novelty thing to have. It's not that it's actually going to help you a whole lot. But now Dangy kind of is making it sound like it might. So I don't know. I've been just blowing off looking into it.
I think there's a threshold where it does help, because just with random numbers, like if you were to stake 150 Eden tokens, but Babs had 500, then I had 1,000 and Dangy had 2,000, then like it doesn't even matter if you had it or not, because you're not really getting ahead of anyone in the line. So it's, in a sense, like the way I think of it, it's kind of like a pay to win model. Where
how does it even go ahead? Sorry.
Yeah, like so basically you like buy it with ETH, and then if you're staking X amount, you have priority over other people, and the more you stake, the higher priority you have. And with the priority, it leads to the block, correct, Dangy? Like it's based on the actual block. It's not necessarily like we could still be in the same block by being, I have 5x the amount of Eden staked as you, but it depends on how many people are already there, where you could just end up being in the next block anyway. But it allows you to pay less in the fees, the gas side.
It can. So it's kind of like the fast lane, the speed pass or whatever. If you're on a highway, at least in the States, you can pay more money, and then you could have fewer cars in your way. So what I'm showing you is the Eden website. And what we see here is the participating hash rate. What does that mean? That means about every 15 seconds, a block of Ethereum is mined, and therefore transactions get processed. You need to know that. Currently, 35.87 of them get processed through Eden. What does that mean? That means that if you are staking Eden, you may get chosen for one of those Eden blocks, and therefore you'll get priority, your gas will be less, and then you're more likely to mint the NFT that you want. Now, you'll hear things like the Eden RPC. If you're in NFT world, you don't really need to worry about that. I dabbled in it, and it's kind of, if you're at a risk of being front run when you're doing DeFi stuff, and like if you're arbing things and you don't don't worry about it, basically, is the bottom line for those. But I have seen a benefit sometimes when I have Eden staked and I'm minting in NFTs, and I do think it's more common now to have enough staked over there to make a difference. Some folks have as little as 200 Eden, as little. It depends on your bankroll, what's little and what's a lot. But it can make a difference, especially in these high impact mints, in that you can just jump to the front of the line on this block and it's a cheaper block, and then you're off and running. So I'm explaining it super high level on purpose as far as how it goes. But that's the gist of it. What do you have, Trey?
I think I understand that part of it. Where this has to be, like, I'm fairly certain that Vitalik didn't write in like Eden code into the Ethereum network. So like, where does this come from? Like, is this something where Eden was created by the miners, or they are partnered with certain miners to get, or how do they I guess the back end, like how does the back end of this all work? Like, I just don't understand where that comes from.
We are very close to being out of my depth. Let's just acknowledge that. But we are, so Mev Collector, you've seen him around doing stuff, and it's a lot of times he's using these things and using tools to get very cheap mints. It's because it starts from DeFi stuff back in 2018-ish. And Mev is basically, when you're waiting for your transaction to be processed by the Ethereum network, you're sitting there, and these folks would be able to analyze what's in that, what's called the mem pool, short for memory pool, essentially, of the network, and then see what's in there, front run it, and make money based upon what your trade was going to be. So what they do here is they see, oh, they're going to set this contract to go live in this transaction when it gets processed. So they will literally go into that mempool, grab that transaction, and then carry their minting transactions right behind it in like a train through the computer, essentially. So that's what you're kind of being protected with Eden, because you can't do that because it's kind of a private network unless you're staking the Eden. How are they really doing it? It's a network of miners and a node, or and a network of nodes.
Or it had to be, yeah. So, or else how would you do it without the miners being on board?
And that's the big key about using the Eden RPC or not. Because if you're not, then you're still being processed in the normal area, and you can be picked up by any miner. If you're using the Eden RPC, you will only be using the Eden RPC. And so unless you're really staking a lot of Eden, I'm talking a lot of Eden, you're just SOL. It's not going to process. So I think something else we're seeing now, this is just talking on my butt now, but we're seeing Genie flying around a little bit, where people can buy a whole floor. I think this is part of how they can do it in one transaction, where buying token 1, 2, 3, 4 are all lined up in one block for that mine. I think that's how it's being done. So maybe not through Eden, but through a similar kind of scenario. Because let's face it, there's enough money in this ecosystem to put a lot of computing power and a lot of brain power behind things to, get as much EV out as possible. And we're in that phase where us as individuals, it's getting harder for sure.
Yeah, it's like that one ETH shop guy who, I forget the exact number, but someone was like, "Oh, what do you have, like 100K staked in Eden?" And he's like, "No, like way more." He like wouldn't give a number.
It was a ridiculous number.
But he probably made up. I mean, when
he made like,
it's really just like, I'm sure he did the math. I mean, he probably has a spreadsheet for it. Like, he pays so much to. Yeah, I mean, if he can dominate drops every single time and have that level of consistency the way that he does, I mean, that's just, it's a no-brainer. I feel like, I mean, you get it back on 1 mint. You just know that times are going to be super sought after. Oni or any of these really are going to be super sought after, especially with us already a lot of times having the data of, okay, these are the pre-sales are selling for 0.7. It's like, okay, this is the easiest play ever. Like, even in a worst case scenario, the mint maybe sells for 0.4 after reveal and stuff. So I don't know. He's obviously got his ducks in a row.
One thing we should talk about before we leave too is Mechaverse, because like that's in a couple days and that's a big one. Like, are we excited? Are we excited about the raffle? Are we bummed that it's a raffle? Mainly because it's the most hype drop that's like probably in the last 2 months. We should at least like talk about it, right?
I hate raffles. mostly it just comes down to I want to be at raffles. You don't have control. Like everybody wants everything to be so fair, but nobody likes raffles. Like this happened in the sneaker community too, where it was always like first come first serve. People were using bots, and then all of a sudden everybody just went to raffles and nobody was happy, right? And so it's like if you can actually control being able to mint what I want, then I can decide by myself whether it makes sense for me or whether it's going to be plus or negative EV. That's what I loved about Gas Wars. I've been saying I love Gas Wars from the very beginning. That's obviously changed a little bit now with the bots and stuff, but I just don't like raffles. You have no control at all. Like I can't guarantee that I'm going to get one. If I wanted mecha so bad in a gas where I could just pay 20,000 gas and be guaranteed to get one. So that's where I'm at.
I'm torn because it does hurt our edge as people who have the bankroll and have the know-how to just hammer the gas war when we want to. But the other part of me is I think this is how it's gonna go. People are gonna look for fairer drops. We've already seen it with the websites. People are using tricks like using a specific nonce and a hash to make sure you can't mint from the contract. So we're helping things there. That's not really at the level of a raffle, but I personally like the raffle just because it brings people into the ecosystem and it's a little bit easier because there are people who I'm assuming just said, I'm out on a gas war. I'm not going to deal with it. And they don't have the bankroll to play with it either. And they can't get on a secondary. So they can't find that ladder up. Do you think that's going to hurt the mecha floor as far as it being a raffle, like right after sellout?
Well, I think there'll be some people that, like 1.5 ETH is a lot of money too. So I could see them dumping for that, right? Where I think if it was a gas war, all those people that are spending, 1.5 ETH per unit on these wouldn't dump them at 2, right? Like I actually think more likelihood that the floor is lower if there's no gas war, just because your cost basis is lower, right?
But that's also what we see a lot of times when we've got the MEV collectors, the sneaky ninja pants, and everybody having a low cost basis. They will hammer the floor. We just have to chew through their floor prices so then we can get to our cost basis is when we're doing the gas war stuff. So it'll be very interesting. I mean, I'm going in the raffle, and there's never a perfect solution. So I mean, people will have alt accounts. I'm sure none of us would ever do such a thing, but there will be alt accounts, I'm sure, involved. With it, which will increase your chances. And I don't know. I feel like it's almost like a snake eating its tail because we're going to get into KYC world, and some drops are kind of there. Trey, I don't know if you're still in Dream Move's world, but they're doing a drop soon, and they ask for your email address.
Are they really?
That's they're doing a 10K avatar-ish thing, and they ask for your email address, and that's to validate some things.
Email address is one thing. If they're asking for your name, and I mean, you can have, do you know how many email addresses I have? Probably in the hundreds now. Just from different stuff. Yeah, like having multiple accounts and all that stuff. I mean,
I have some email address alpha for you guys. Are you ready? Most of us you're not ready for email address alpha, Lou? Not excited for that?
I might know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Trey knows. So if you have a Gmail account, you can put a plus sign after your email address and then put whatever you want afterwards. You will get the email. Most, if not all, computers will think it's a unique email address. So you can have as many accounts as you want. And you don't really have to
do that for Nike. I used to do that for sneaker drops all the time.
Walter was saying he was doing that in chat.
Yeah,
the other day.
That doesn't surprise me.
700
he's big into
addresses.
Yeah, he's big into sneakers. So that's how you create an edge in the sneaker community is by having a million different email addresses that you can enter all those raffles and all that stuff. I mean, it's kind of crazy the lengths that they go to.
I actually like
chat. Go ahead, Matt. Babs, go ahead.
I was going to say, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The other, I actually like that Outcast drop the way they did it the other day, where he actually had to go into Discord and type in a retrieve like function to get a unique ID to enter. Like I actually like that a little bit. It made you do a human activity in order to mint something, right? Like I actually hope more people go that way. At least yeah, like that too, right? Like that was a whitelist we did the other day. We had to write a phrase 10 times on a piece of paper. I like that. At least it stops the bots. Cool. It makes you so you have to be at your computer. I think the way though the future is stealth drops and some of that, right? Like I don't like the raffle that's at a predetermined time. I'd rather be a stealth drop or a human activity that you have to do to complete to mint, right?
For sure.
Can't win everything.
And I just dropped in chat our for the token giveaway. So if you want a Club MGMI token, Babs is giving one away later tonight. So I just put the form in there.
Are we spinning the wheel then? What are we doing?
Yeah, we'll just spin the wheel.
Okay.
Easy enough.
Do you want to spin it tonight?
Yeah, let's do it. It's got to be people watching, right? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, we already have like 8 responses.
But no, but did you caveat it with it can't be someone that already has one? I'm not giving it to someone that has one.
Out later.
Okay. Not giving it to someone who has one.
Wheels if they don't.
Okay.
I do see a couple that have.
That's my caveat. Is I want someone new who doesn't have one yet. I'm not giving it to someone to sell.
Like, yeah, we can't give this.
That's caveat.
Filled it out. You know he can't win.
I'm trying to find another giveaway we could do. Like we could do some Dusty NFT for that giveaway that you're doing.
The other person wins.
Funny of those.
Okay, yeah, let's do.
No, I want to do Babs' original idea that hasn't been disclosed yet.
Okay,
I want to do
my
that.
original idea is better because you have to be watching and it gives everyone a shot. So let's do that.
It's kind of like a gas war.
Yeah, it's like a mint. You're going to be under pressure.
I love it.
Okay,
Babs. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like this. So I want to go back a little bit back to when we were talking about what NFTs were good. Why would you have them? And also to the person who paid 0.249 Ethereum for hours. We're excited to provide utility to you all. And we want to share some alpha for you all. Not only next week, I hope I'm like Dangy confidence score. We're like 68.7% likely that we're going to have a pizza party next week on the stream where we're going to airdrop pizza to your doorstep. You're going to have to dox yourself, not to us, but to a different company that does this apparently through video conferencing. You do need to tell someone where you live. It is international, just so you know. So you will have pizza. We hope you will eat it on stream with us. That'd be great. Send in your photos. We'll give you a spot to put that. In addition, we're going to give you all a POAP. And this is what the POAP's going to look like. I know some people, shout out to Tig, who loves the POAPs. Shout out to XG, Augustin.
It's a good POAP style.
It's a great POAP. Are you kidding me?
I think it's sick. It's really cool. It is super cool.
Yeah. So we are going to give you a POAP afterwards as well. And that will be another one where you have to be watching on stream. We'll set that up so you have to be with us, hopefully eating pizza. You know, if it's not in your diet or whatever, eat a little bit.
Are you able to Zoom on this?
Yeah.
Zoom
on that.
Yeah, Zoom test that.
So
look at
this pizza party. And then his hat says something too, right?
It has something, doesn't it?
Sleep is
it's too good.
I think it's
maybe fails the Zoom test.
No.
You kind of tell it's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very zoomed in. I mean, it's a small spot to fit the design. So
there we go.
Yeah, it's really dope. I like it. Looks good. I hate the way that we actually are supposed to pronounce POAP. I in my head I always called it Pope. I like that better. Can we just call it Pope instead?
Just call it the Canadian pronunciation of POAP. It's fine. I think that works for me. Adam T is asking the important questions. Is that an oily? No. Unfortunately, that is not an oily. Adam T.
We love the oilies though.
We do love the oilies.
Oily drop today.
The pebbles.
He sold out.
Logan will never come back on our show because now he's rich. So that was
so those were I actually wanted to buy more, just mint more because I only had one oily, but I couldn't. When I went into the contract, it was giving me an insufficient fund. So I don't know if they were sold out. Because you didn't have to just be a holder. You could actually go in and buy pebbles, right?
Yeah, I minted 2. It was 0.1. I minted 2 more.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, I did the same.
It was cool to see other Discords being like, "What are pebbles?" Right? And I'm like, "Hey, I know that guy. It's cool."
Yeah, and they popped on Icy Tools minting alerts. That was pretty cool.
Mev Collector minted some, so Logan was pumped.
He's just tailing the club.
Yeah.
So what are we looking forward to? I know we covered Mecca. I do not really know what's coming up this week as far as major drops are concerned. I know there's a Gen Hall drop coming, or like the mint pass for Gen Hall holders is coming tomorrow afternoon. That's something.
TikTok
Trey?
On Wednesday, I think, because I remember Mecca and TikTok are both on the same day, so I think they're both on the 6th. I don't know what time that's at though. Huh?
I know nothing about this TikTok drop.
Really? I guess they just partnered with a bunch of creators, I think, and they're going to be. I think their first one is what's his name? Got the horses in the back or whatever his name is. That might be the wrong guy.
Oh yeah. We're so old. Lil Nas
Why
X.
am I yes, I can't believe I can remember. So I think their first one is Lil Nas X. I don't know I know that they're doing it on Illuvium. Am I butchering that? They chose the L2 site or blockchain. So we'll see how that goes.
Immutable?
Immutable, that's it. I get those mixed up. Immutable. So they're doing it on Immutable. That's all I have right now, but I gotta imagine that's going to be decently sought after. And it's pretty cool that TikTok.
Time.
Yeah, I would agree. Pretty big cultural significance there with the way that TikTok is kind of taken over.
Yeah.
Well, and this has Gary V is apparently providing content for these in the future as well.
For TikTok.
Yep.
For the TikTok NFTs, and shout out to an underground rapper that I actually know and like, Curtis Roach. He's also doing one as well.
Dangy,
serious Curtis Roach
rapper throwback. Yeah, we should ask Mac and Cheesy if he knows about it.
Oh, it's true.
Could be
he's my one link to TikTok as well, Lou. So that's all that I have.
And then Surreals supposedly are going to drop tomorrow after not dropping today. Mutant cats just keep going up.
I think it's so funny when projects try to change, like, we're going to make this drop so much more fair than every other project before us has ever made it. And they almost always fail. I think Parallel is like the one that has been able to do a drop like that, where it has gone incredibly smooth, where it's literally just click a button, you're reserved, and then you can go in and mint later. Solana's all suck. It seems like every project that tries to do some weird drop mechanism always just messes up the code or does something that ends up having them to delay it, and then it's even worse on their end. Like, quit trying to reinvent the wheel, just drop your drop and then provide value later.
Well, what's interesting is they're going back to what's familiar. They're looking at companies and how do we do drops. They do it on Web 2.0 tech, which is what we're describing, and it's failing repeatedly. It's very interesting. I do genuinely like the tech, and it's just very interesting that that's what's failing a lot of these drops is the Gen 2 or the Web 2 stuff.
And then I just, one thing I've talked about in the past is people like to immediately change their mind on something and just dump. And the issue I have with that is, like, I always say, like, don't dump something for under 0.05 within the first hour just because you heard of XYZ, unless it's like clearly a rug or it was a fake project or something like that. But if it's like, oh, their rarity was off or this bad, every dev team has issues, and most drops that we have issues, but it's really which teams can come back from it that actually propels these things off to mooning. And so that's where, like, maybe we don't know about the mutant cats yet, but I think the fact that they're connected to what's going to happen with cool cats, I think people still will want them to stake and have part of the fractional for it, because they just saw what happened with zombie toads. Zombie toads isn't necessarily connected to toads, but the fact that you're getting a piece of that fractional portfolio, then all of a sudden people want them more.
Is that really a big driver for people though? Like, at this point, I feel like there's just so many projects that say that they're going to be backed by a CryptoPunk or by a Cool Cat or by the next big, or I'm sure there'll be a project that comes along that has like 2 toads, and they're like, we're backed by the toads, and it's like they're a 20th floor. So like it never comes back around. It never ends up trickling down to the actual minters because most people are just flipping them anyway. So yeah, it might be a great thing for projects to do to try and get some eyeballs on them, but it doesn't seem like it actually holds any weight.
And I don't know why people care. Like if you wanted to fractionally invest in one of those, we have fractional now, right?
Yeah,
like I don't get why. Like, and that's kind of my problem. Like,
and you can buy it directly. I did that with the brains. I sold the zombie toad and bought brains with it instead of waiting for it to stake up to 0.3 or whatever it was.
So it's never really been a big driver for my thought process. Like I like the kitty bank because it's in a bunch of different NFTs and you know, it actually has value to the PERS, but like otherwise, like I don't care if they have one Bored Ape, like it doesn't really do much.
Well, it more just seemed it's like a marketing ploy for most. Like if you're actually if the kitty bank or a similar style thing or concept is part of your roadmap and you're like, this is what we are doing, then yeah, fine, build that up over time. But just one project that I've never heard of until 10 minutes ago saying, oh, we're backed by a cool cat is not piquing my interest enough to be like, I need to go all in on this because I'm getting access to a fractional cool cat. Like
unless it was like minuscule. Of the roadmap from Cool Cats that they were going to have a branch off project or something.
Like those mutant cats just made they made 800 ETH and they're backed by a 14 ETH cool cat. I don't care, right? Like where's the rest of it? Like I don't care about that one.
I mean, you guys be careful. These mutants are moving.
Well, they are. They are.
I'm not. No. I'm not doubting that they're not. Like they might go to a 2 ETH floor, but I'm just saying whether that's actually supported by if people are just if they get to a 1 ETH floor because it's backed by a cool cat, then that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And people just don't understand basic math.
The comment by David O in the other chat, he said earlier the issue here, in a way, is you can make more flipping the item than you can staking it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like if you have it backed by say a toad right now, toads to get to like 50 ETH would have to beat out if you sold the zombie toad right now for 10x, you know? So that's where it's like, in a sense, you're kind of gaming what other people are doing.
Oh yeah.
So, what were you going to show us, Dangy?
Oh, I was going to, we were talking about how like using derivative projects, but what didn't really tie in, but this is a project that's coming up that is tied to the toads. And we could wait for this and do it later, but it's kind of an IP conversation about open source for sharing IP versus closed IP. Like, oh, we like Disney, we like Marvel. What does their IP look like on NFTs? But what does open source stuff look like? So the toads are open source. You can use them for literally whatever you want. But this Arcades NFT collaboration has been blessed by the toads folks. I'm not exactly sure what that means tangibly, but they're working together on it at some level. But the Arcade NFT floor has been eaten up since this announcement happened. And the utility behind this is you can be whitelisted or allowed to mint, I believe it's 5 if you own an Arcade NFT or a Toads. So there's some utility there as far as that partnership goes. So yeah, I think there are going to be more reasons to hold these unique features of the NFT world that have meaning, like Toads that has meaning now, and like, you know, punks, if that ever were to happen, that'd be incredible as far as licensing goes and licensing punks and that kind of thing. Cool Cats, Bored Ape Yacht Club, we already know that brand. They love warehouse parties and yacht parties. Cool. So yeah, I think it's interesting as far as how can you tie in these NFTs into other areas of the world and areas of utility related to things. So
this is just when I heard the public domain thing going around, for some reason, I'm only just now hearing about this, I guess. Like, oh, it's public domain and everyone's super hyped about it. This is just the same thing as you own your ape, right? And you could, if you wanted to start a brewery with your ape as the brand, you could do that, right? That's what this is? Or am I understanding it incorrectly?
I don't know. Okay. I don't know enough to explain it as far as whether it like what use you could use legally, just because I don't know if you could throw something that's like that as a brand or a trademark or anything.
This was just the first time I had heard any project reference public domain and not like intellectual property or something like that. So I was wondering if there was something different about Toads that maybe separated it from what Bored Ape Yacht Club did.
Yeah, for sure. Eric is saying full commercial rights. So yeah, you could open a Crypto Toads brewery with your toad, for example, which would be
makes sense.
I would drink a beer with a toad on it. 100%. Club NGMI meet up at the Crypto Toads brewery for sure. Okay. Any other topics for today? I'm good. I want to check my bags.
Bag checking is fun right now because everything's pumping. I mean, I think I refreshed my WGMI like 8 times today.
The only other topic I have is I don't know if you guys have noticed like the recent thing where projects are minting, and anytime something gets minted, like a whale wallet, let's call it, will get some of the mints sent to them. Like I've been having that happen. I've been having that happen to me a lot lately where, a couple of projects come to mind are like that Bored Ape Mirror Club and the Pudgy Chicks and Pudgy Penguins. So anytime someone mints it publicly, they'll send it to, whale wallets or those wallets that would trigger Nansen, basically trying to get more people to mint. So they're giving these other people free ones. And, like, I'll be honest, I'm kind of just selling them, right? Like I'm flipping them for free. Like, should I be doing that? Is that bad? Like, am I a baddie for doing that?
No,
like, it's a good topic, right? Like, I just think it's interesting. Like I've probably gotten like 10 of those penguin eggs in the last 2 days.
Well, I have too, but I was scared to even touch them, or like I just hide everything that I don't recognize because I don't want to, because you have to approve that token to go and sell it on OpenSea, right? So
but I think that was like kind of debunked is as long as you're just staying on OpenSea and you're signing an OpenSea transaction, nothing can happen.
So I can sell those then?
Yeah.
This one it's someone minting,
because I got a bunch of those like you
say that a bunch that happened to Flurry yesterday. It happens to Pranksy all the time, happens to Art Chick. And now like they're spreading like who I'm guessing they have a Nansen list and they're using something from the Nansen list, and they're just sending one to a bunch of different people. And then they're hoping that that person selling it or that person having it in their account is when, like yesterday, that happened with what was it, the turtles, where people were like, oh, there's 10 in Flair's account. And everyone's like, well, did he mint those or not? And so a lot of people won't think that way and just see, oh, he has 10. Let me buy 10.
Yeah, I was in Collective today and Zeneca was like, someone posted a project and he's like, yo, I just went and looked at this. I'm the like top 5 holder or something like that. I have 55 of these and I've literally never heard of it before. So I'm getting spammed by those 2 babs. I've been wondering what to do with them. I've just been scared to sell them, but
you're a whale too. The chat's all over me for being a whale.
Because you're getting these
mints.
I didn't even know. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, then
how
you gotta sell them before they get delisted.
I've probably made 0.3 in the last 2 days. So
oh my god, I am missing out. That's just a free $1,000 that you.
Me too, Trey.
That's just stupid. I know what I'm doing the rest of the night.
Well, the issue was they delisted them, and you had like 10 of them, and you haven't posted.
I still have a bunch
last night.
Like I got a swimmy shark.
But Dangy, you don't think I should be selling them? Like, are we the baddies? Like, should I?
No. You're not a baddie. If you get something sent to you for free, you can sell it all you want. That means that some other willing party. Yeah. Yes.
No. What I'm concerned about is when you are looking at ERC 721 and that super highway and looking at stuff. I do it all the time still. I'm like, oh, this one's moving, and then you don't check because it's the same reason that I bought something for 0.7 instead of 0.07. I'm moving quick, and I want to move quick to get in early. So with those now, part of your process needs to be to check the Etherscan transaction and make sure that the from address is the to address. And the other red flag, I'll call it a yellow flag, is even if the contract includes a mint to section and you have to put your own wallet address in there, that tells me that they could have done something sketchy. Not that they did, but that they could have. So I don't trust contracts that well. Eric is this is good. We should have like scam of the week section when it applies. So Eric's talking about the cancel listing scam. Basically, that is you list low or you list high at 0.7, and then you immediately move it down to 0.07, and then you delist or you cancel that 0.07 listing. So the person trying to snipe.
Floor. That's the thing that people look for. Because like the floor on that would be 0.1, and then people are like, oh man, there's a 0.07.
And so they spam trying to buy it as quick as possible, right? Like they're just spam buying it without checking to see, that person just changed it. They canceled that, they canceled that 0.07 and now it's 0.7, right?
Yeah. So be watchful of that. And also, I mean, shameless plug for the Discord. We're pretty good at sussing those out and assessing things, and we'll happily look at transactions for you or things that get thrown in your wallet to help you out and clear things out of your wallet if you need. Just like that original fear around, oh, don't touch those things from Polygon, they're gonna kill you. No, it's not really true. And if you're on OpenSea, you are likely okay, is what I'll say as far as your keys getting taken or your assets being just stolen out of your wallet. You can do any number of dumb things while on OpenSea, though. So be mindful of that as well. All right, guys.
Let's do my giveaway first.
Yeah,
I'll say
I have a list.
Do it, Babs.
Okay. So kind of as like an NFT mint here, anyone who's watching who doesn't have a Club ngmi token yet, like I don't know if it's mentioned, they're sold out. So there's only a few left. Like I have a couple extra, so I'm willing to give one away tonight. So anyone who doesn't have one, who wants one, first person to DM me in Discord. So if you've been in our Discord, you know how to track me down. First person to DM me gets it.
You don't have private chats?
Nope. I'm open.
This is the most whalish thing that Babs has ever done. He's like,
come get it.
Find my DMs and I'll give you something.
Mm-hmm.
Also, let's pull up let's get an updated standings on the club showdown challenge for tonight. See where everything's at. Me and Eric are chilling in last place.
I was in second, but I don't know if I can win.
Josh is claiming he won. I hope Josh didn't win.
No,
I don't know how smart some of the people that are. You have some of these guys. One guy said, "What am I DMing you for?" And he's in our Discord. Like, were you even watching the show?
Can we talk about how they did a weather delay on a dome for the game tonight? That makes no sense.
I don't understand that at all either. Why would you do that? Was it people coming to the game that they were worried about? Like, what's unsafe about that?
It was lightning. So Jose Pujols 5 is the username that's in first right now. And then we have, I'm in second, Babs is in third, Tebow is in fourth, Dr. Dirks is in fifth. But I don't know, Jose Pujols is pretty far ahead. He has 76 points and fifth has only 55 points.
What's the lineup? What are we looking at?
He has Keenan Allen captain, which is the same as me, and Herbert, Eckler, Hunter Renfroe, Brian Edwards, who has 0 points, is in his team, but he also has Jared Cook. So he has he has 2 of the 3 touchdowns that Herbert's thrown, and then the 1 touchdown that the Raiders have. So he just has everyone except Parham, and I think Babs has Parham and Eckler, but Waller captain. So I mean, Babs probably is more live than me because I have Keenan captain. So Babs, if Waller gets some receptions, maybe a touchdown at the end here, you could probably catch him.
We don't want that. Nope.
I need like a
now I got a
Kenyon
rooting
Drake
interest
touchdown to catch him.
I played Kenyon Drake too. That was and Brian Edwards, my 2 leverage plays. Good picks there. Good picks there.
Thank you guys for chatting.
Who won the DM battle? Did you get?
Yeah, that had to be done by now.
So it was our black one. We had about 5 people message me. It was all really close. It was fun, but yeah, our black one. So yeah,
I love it. I recognize that handle, so that's good. I love to see that.
And he's in the Soul Streets too. I know that.
Oh God, damn it!
You know what I miss about not being in just regular club NFTs is the white usernames. We don't get those anymore. That
No.
was
I missed that.
Kind of fun back in the day.
that.
Kind of fun back in the day, just teasing at the white usernames.
Well, credit to Lou. I know Lou goes down there more often than I do. I need to go hang out with Club NFTs more. That's my. Oh, here he's in the chat. Of course he is because he listened. Ivan.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
He's
Soul bro.
Yeah, we've done. I thought he already had a token. I guess not. I think he does. He have a man's coin?
Does he have a token?
Like he might have a man's
Maybe
coin.
did he listen to the instructions? No, you sure?
I mean, I don't see him in the purple names.
Okay, cool.
We'll sort it out.
He doesn't have a token, but he has a man's coin.
Cool.
I love it. On behalf of Lou, Babs, Trey, it's Dangy. I didn't get the video up. Here we go. Thank you all very much for hanging out with us on Club NGMI. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Like, subscribe. The first time we say it, an hour 25 into the show. We are professionals at this. Thank you, Pete, for having us over on your side. Like and subscribe, Pete. Join the Deposit Kingdom. Buy our token. Come hang out with us next week for a pizza party. And then be on the lookout for additional utility from us. If we get 1,000 folks to buy this token that you can't buy 1,000 of, we are going to send a rug to somebody. So
500.
You can look. Oh, it's 500.
500.
Yeah.
500. Oh, and last thing for the stragglers, I've heard there's going to be an airdrop soon for NGMI token holders. Soon. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.